Hello, everyone, and welcome to People of Interest. I'm your host, Miguel Guanipa. People of Interest is a show that is based on the stories from people like you and me. My guest today is a good friend, and he's got a great story to tell. His name is Brian Hansen, and we're gonna let him tell his story. Thanks,
Whoa,
thanks a lot. Thanks for
appreciate it.
no problem.
This
So
is all new to me,
all
so
new to you.
thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. So you finally made it. You were at Church Street, and a
Yes,
lot of people go to Church Street, and then they end up over here.
the old friendlies.
So before we started, you have a lot to your story, from what I understand. So we want to start maybe where you feel will be the beginning of this particular situation where you develop this holistic uh, approach to health, because you had some situations that came about, and if you want to tell me about
Sure,
those, and just take your time, and
sure.
if
So
chronologically, whichever you want to do it.
I think life's a journey and a story, and if you're an open book, you let people learn from mistakes that either you went through or, in my situations, doctors could have gone to earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it was 2014. I was surfing quite a bit in California, and I developed from what I thought a hernia in a lower left hand side. I knew I had some kind of lump or something wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
And it came down to a couple months after of the initial finding of that to developing IBS and some bladder issues, which meant I had to find a toilet just about every hour.
That was from the hernia.
I didn't know what it was from. I
Yeah.
knew I had something that I needed some problems with.
Right.
So I went to primary first, which we have to go because he has to refer you out.
Mm-hmm.
So he refers me first out to get x rays, which is the first thing. X rays are clear, then it goes to an IBS doctor, which is colon, intestines, internal medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, it was my brain more psychological, kind of toying with me, like getting nervous over things, which nervousness makes you go to the bathroom more.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So the next step was an IBS doctor, which started doing some scans, turning a colonoscopy, and at that time I was researching quite a bit, which I probably shouldn't have, on WebMD, which
Yeah. Yep.
is
That's the
totally
first thing everybody does.
totally out there for everybody to look at. But honestly, I think doctors are there for a reason. So
Yeah.
we go to them first, or in our case, I'm a Christian, you're a Christian, that we go to God to seek counsel there.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I tried to root where my symptoms were coming from, which was a bad idea.
Mm.
At that point, scans and stuff went on. Couldn't really find anything in there, but what they ended up doing was put me on a FODMAP diet, which restricts your nutrition down, taking things out of what you eat normally,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing if there's roots to different foods, how it affects your body.
Yeah.
At that time, I still was eating red meat, so I decided I would take red meat out because I knew that was bad. I took dairy out because I knew that was bad. It gives inflammation.
Is this from the doctor, or you decided to do this?
Yeah, no, it was from the doctor
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
Carbonation, which beer, seltzer water, sodas,
Mm-hmm.
and caffeine all triggers IBS symptoms more. So
Yeah.
all that was stripped out too.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 3 months into it, I was literally, if I went a half hour on a road, I would have to make sure I went to the bathroom before and then
Wow.
got there. It started turning bad.
Now you didn't know that this was because of the hernia.
No idea.
Okay.
I still knew
You thought it
something
was
was there,
IBS. Yeah.
and I was at a different doctor every 3 weeks. Let's say I had
Mm.
probably a dozen different scans, from MRIs to CAT scans to colonoscopies,
Wow.
different holistic doctors. What they ended up finding was I definitely had in my gallbladder area, I had some small gallstones.
Mm-hmm.
That was in a scan. A little after that, maybe a couple weeks after that, I hadn't had steak or red meat for a while. I had steak and it sent me down to my deck. basically in excruciating pain. I didn't know what I was passing. I was passing stones.
Wow.
At that time, once we found out about that, I stripped red meat fully out of my diet, which I haven't eaten red meat for about 4 years, knowing that affected me. Talking to my younger brother and my father, red meat also affected them. So it's hereditary. So fully got rid of the red, still restricted dairy, still restricted other foods that were affecting me, which can be nightshades, which is asparagus, and some other different vegetables.
Yeah.
So I decided at that point I was going to go more plant-based, and still my protein was coming from chicken, turkey, and birds. Pestimus is a term they call it.
That's what they call it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was radically losing weight.
So at this point, you still don't know that it's not actually the IBS. It's something else that's
IBS
triggering
is
that.
a name they're going to throw on everybody, right? If the doctors can't figure you out and why you have diarrhea and losing weight and stuff like that, IBS is a term. And when they throw it at you,
Irritable bowel syndrome.
yep, they don't know what it is.
Yeah. Huh.
So that's the mystery of it, that
Okay.
I really took it into my own hands to say, I'm going to start researching a lot more on nutrition. I'm going to research what is affecting me. Still at that point, I was still eating eggs. I didn't know eggs can be a symptom that will make you go to the bathroom more. Sometimes people have allergic to eggs. I just decided to strip the eggs out. I was on egg diet every single breakfast to get protein because I was taking other protein out that I figured I needed to boost up on it.
You take that out too.
Yeah. But so I turned at that point fully to only fruit, chia seeds, antioxidants, and superfoods for the morning.
Chia seeds? What is that?
Chia seeds
Yeah.
is it's-
chia seeds.
Yeah.
Like the chia pet.
Yeah, no, not exactly, but what you
Right.
do is you soak it overnight, soak it in coconut milk,
Yeah.
and they expand. Fully antioxidants, a lot of nutrition,
Wow.
and acai, which is acai fruit, Brazilian fruit. We make, in my house, acai bowls. So frozen fruit bowls, all superfoods, with nut butters and granola and fresh fruit and all, and I'll eat that, Miguel, and I can not be hungry to 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's phenomenal. Fills you up. You get all the protein I'm getting that I'll need in the morning.
You got that recipe written down somewhere? Or?
In the brain.
Oh, okay.
If you want it, I can definitely
Yeah,
give
we
you.
can talk about that, yeah. Later on, you can give
So-
me some tips.
Yeah, so from there forward, I really started going at, like, what do I want to put in my body? What's going to affect my body?
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
If things affected my body, you know, I went through a couple different IBS internal doctors. They wanted me to keep a notebook on it, log my daily intake, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and I did that for like a month, and then 2 months, and it started getting old.
Yeah.
One of the doctors wanted restricted down to eating only like 5 or 6 meals that you knew that didn't affect any problems, and you pretty much have a bland diet and constantly eat the same stuff, which in my house we would grill a ton of chicken, and you would just make whether salads with chicken or some chicken and
So you had
pasta.
several doctors trying to figure out, like giving you all kinds
Yeah.
of options, but not quite sure.
Still not.
Okay, go ahead.
There was kind of a light bulb moment, I guess, 2.5 years into it, and I finally found a really good IBS doctor that listened to me and didn't give me the 10-minute version that all doctors in America pretty much give you these days. And she gave me about an hour of her time. And she looked at prescriptions I had taken, and there was one particular prescription I had taken because I had osteoporosis and I had a snowboard fall that I damaged my back about 10 years prior to it.
Yeah.
And the generic version of it is Fosamax, which a lot of people take. I was in a bone clinic for about 10 years leading up to this IBS that I would have to get bone scans because I broke 2 vertebrae in my lower back, stress fractures, and at that time they saw thinning spinal and hips that they wanted to give an experimental drug, which I didn't research what I was taking at the time.
Yeah.
But the IBS doctor found there's a component of that that actually was destroying my floral, the inside of your intestine, the good, healthy bacteria.
Yeah.
And she said, "Stop it! Don't take it." And I stopped taking it. But that drug's so serious that if you take it for 5 or 10 years, it stays in your bloodstream for another 5, 10 years after you stop taking it. It's
Wow.
a powerful drug.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what it was doing.
Yeah. Was that also while you were having the pains of the hernia, and at the same time all this was happening, or?
Well, I was taking that leading all the way up to it.
Yeah.
And then I continued on it probably for 6 months to a year of having what I thought was a hernia.
Yeah.
To finally light bulb moment to her to say, the reason why that doctor gave you it in a clinical format is the doctors are getting paid by pharmaceuticals. The pharmaceutical,
the
you know,
pills.
it's a vicious cycle,
Yeah.
you know, that goes on everywhere. But if you get somebody that, you know, will treat you fairly, which in this case she did, and that was a light bulb moment for me to start getting lined up with the right doctors after that.
Mm-hmm.
Said strip it out of your diet. I found a plant-based calcium, vitamin D component, which I started taking. And 1 year ago from now, I actually reversed osteoporosis. I don't have osteoporosis anymore.
Really?
It was in my physical chart for over 10 years. And because I switched to a plant-based diet and a plant-based supplement, I built the bones back up.
Really?
Yep. And got off the powerful drug, which not only destroyed the intestinal, I developed a fracture in a tooth, which side effects from that pill, actually you can lose teeth and fracture teeth.
Wow.
So it's kind of an eye-opener.
So you were kind of like, you told me at one point you were around 14 different pills or something, right?
I was, it's crazy, Gas X, which is for bloating.
Yeah.
I was taking a pill that caused me not to have bloating, but because I had bloating, I was popping Gas X pills up to 20 pills a day to decrease bloating.
Wow.
But those make you constipated, so then you got to take something else. So I was on a whole
Oh, my
different
goodness.
regimen, and I had a pill box with every 7 days of the week, which were filled with different pills. You know, I'm happy to say now I only take natural vitamins, vitamin D, natural plant-based calcium.
Where do you get these natural vitamins?
Order them. They're actually right up in Vermont, this
Really?
company. Yeah.
And you reverse osteoporosis, and how
Yeah.
about your stomach? How's that doing?
So the end of this whole crazy journey happened actually this August. I had finally saw another doctor that gave me a chance to diagnose me, to stick a camera in my belly button to see if there was any hernia. And she did find a small tear. Thin people develop it just as much as heavy people.
Yeah.
And it's an inguinal canal, which all your nerve endings go through there, which touch your colon, your bladder, and all these bladder and colon issues. She said she would give me a chance. She loves, you know, radical cases.
Yeah.
And within weeks after that, Miguel, like my bladder, I would have to go to the bathroom every hour. Started reversing to 2 hours. Now I'm months later, 3-4 hours. Now I'm normal. Which 5 years ago, I wish I could have had this chance, but it actually opened my eyes to nutrition, more exercise, living more of a healthy lifestyle. And I actually kept the weight off, the 20 pounds that I decreased, but a lot of plant-based or vegan-based people are skinny anyway, because once you start stripping animal products off you, you get thinner, you start losing weight, you start feeling better. I have zero headaches, and I have a lot of...
too, huh?
Yeah. You get headaches, and I have phenomenal energy, which is
Wow.
it's good side effects that come from changing diet.
So that's something that you did on your own. You found out all these things on your own, basically.
I did, and I think
Just to look out for your own health.
sometimes you do have to. You go through something to get stronger. Um, you know, if you were to ask me if I were to take it back to not have any of that, because my wife's asked me and other friends, I wouldn't. As sad as it was that it affected so many different things, it opened my eyes to what I'm putting in my body.
So the whole family's on this diet now, or?
My wife and me, yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely live as healthy as we can,
Uh,
and I think teach as much as we can. You know.
yeah, that sounds like a lot of information. I think probably you should maybe you want to write down somewhere some of these things that you have in your meal plan because that might be helpful to
Sure.
some people. I know that. I mean, it sounds like you were especially susceptible to red meat, which is probably in your hereditary thing, right? There was something
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Red meat
Yeah.
is a trigger.
Yeah.
Dairy is also though. Dairy's
That's all the stuff I eat
is
is
it?
dairy and
Well, I like cheese, and there's certain
yeah,
cheeses that don't affect you as much. Goat cheese, feta cheese,
yeah.
but we're the only
See?
thing on we're the only thing on Earth that actually have milk after birth. No
Mm.
other animals after birth have milk in their diet.
Mm.
If you look back, we're the only humans that have milk at birth and continue having milk all the way through your life.
Mm.
And it's really, not needed. You can get higher calcium off almond milk, coconut milk. They make milk out of oats now. It's phenomenal. They soak oats in the milk that comes off. It's phenomenal.
When you were younger, were you concerned a lot with your health, or not so much when you were much
Not at all.
didn't
As
pay
a
much
as a
attention to it?
kid, you just
Yeah,
eat what your parents put in the cupboards,
yeah,
you know. Um, but now reversing it back,
yeah.
I'm putting in my cupboards a lot more healthy versions, and we teach our own kids, so hopefully they can teach their kids.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have, I guess, control over that stuff as much.
Yeah.
Parents always had soda in the refrigerator, stuff like that.
Mm. Well, let's talk about a little bit one thing I wanted to talk about because, and I didn't know, like I told you, I didn't know if you were the guy that this happened to, but it's part of your testimony
Yes.
that I heard the rumors and I thought, is that Brian Hansen that happened to? And my wife was, I think it was him. So I said, "Well, I'll ask him first before find out if it was really him, and then he can tell me about it. Tell me about that. What was the whole story behind that?
So you're referring to my leg?
Huh?
You're
Yes.
referring to my
Yes.
leg.
Yes.
Okay. So this goes back to 2000. Let's see, my son was born, Eli, in 2003. So
Yeah.
I had a snowboard fall, which goes back to the vertebrae in my back. At that time, I broke T9, T10, stress fractures, and I developed curvature of the back. My spine was starting to curve to the right side.
Yeah.
So that made my leg longer on the right side. I went through probably 5 different chiropractors in those years that always said, looking at your back when you bend over and touch your toes, that muscular-wise it's developing more on the right side to overemphasize your left side where the damage happened. During this process of IBS, at our church Life Song, I was going to a small group which was Case for Healing, and it's really going into the Bible to learn about, the power that God and disciples healed many, many instances in the Bible that we can use the same power here on earth. We're empowered to heal.
Yeah.
So I kind of went to that class like open-minded that I was dealing with all this stuff, and I was getting prayer all over that, laying hands on and everything. And the 2 guys that were leading the class, Tim Moore and Chris Poole, left their eyes open and prayed over my intestines, commanded them to be healed, straight, normal, and they physically saw my leg grow out to equal to the left leg.
Mm.
I didn't tell my chiropractor that
Yeah.
story. I wanted to go there,
Yeah.
which I go at that time probably every 2 weeks, but I wanted to do a follow-up with him to see what he said
Yeah.
without telling him anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he saw some change
Mm.
happen. And of course, shared the story with him. It's Ian Simpson. He's a snowboarder, chiropractor, goes to our church Life Song.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, he agrees in the power of prayer. And he also is a doctor, so doctors-wise think differently sometimes. But yeah, he realized, A, it was healed,
Mm.
B, something's changed, you know, and the only answer where it comes from has to be from God. So yeah, that's another part of my whole story of healing.
So you're feeling pretty good these days.
Feeling pretty good, and I actually have scars on my stomach that I showed you earlier
Yeah.
to prove, and it kind of is, you know, like God has scars on his hands hanging on the cross.
Yeah.
These
You
are
got one
my
on each side.
these are my scars, I guess, my war scars to
Yeah.
show me that the journey that I went through, yeah, something came out of it really positive, you know. And I'm proud, I guess, I went through it, I guess, if you would ask me, you know.
So also, well, while we're at it, then I'm wondering, were you raised in a Christian family, or
Yes.
yeah?
Yeah. Raised in New York.
Yeah.
On my mother's side, my grandfather is a pastor. He's passed away now. But he grew up on a farm, one of 9 kids. Didn't get out of school past 7th, 8th, and 9th grade because they attended to the farm.
Yeah.
And
That's about the time somebody told me about the 8th grade, they put you to work. Somebody who was, I
Yeah.
had a guest that told me about that, yeah.
in
Go
the
ahead.
fields, poor, again, 8, 9 kids. You wondered if they would really get out of the farm life, you know. So he is probably the one person that I looked at for strength the most, you know. I mean, gave me a lot of wisdom as far as my work ethic goes. If you're going to have a farm, you got to seed it, you know. You got to water it. You got to let those things grow. And in his case, he was cattle, so he was milk, dairy, and chickens, poultry. But he actually, him and his sister, both went in the mission field. They both went to college, Nyack College, and he became a pastor and a missionary.
So was he a very influential person in your life or in your walk?
He was, you know, I mean, to the extreme also that when I was in high school, I had a mohawk and punk
Yeah.
rock and all that. And when he'd visit, we'd be playing the rock and roll. I'd be like, that's the music from the devil, you know? And just, you know, firm discipline, but,
Yeah.
you know, great example to lead, you know, as a grandfather figure, but also into my parents, you know. Because from that grandfather, the flip side of my dad's side, his father committed suicide. So I have, you know, one grandfather that was a farmer, then a minister to a pastor, and then my dad's own father committed suicide by carbon monoxide. So my own father now had a new father in his life that was a great, you know, Christian man of faith, that both of them were very close. From building cabins in New York to any renovations, my father's an electrician, so he was always there.
So who was, I'm thinking like, so you grew up in a Christian family, but do you remember a time when you decided on your own that this would be the path that you're going to take? Or
Yeah, you
Or you're
always have
always-
to, as far as having your own faith and
Yes.
activating it.
making your own decision?
Yeah, so I mean, you're always, and I get it, you have kids, I have kids.
Yeah.
You try to have your own model for them, but, you know, whether it's going to Bible school, youth group, or this and that, you're forcing on them. But you really want them to
Yeah.
take the control on it.
Right.
I would say it was in my own life, it's going to be at Bible camps, going away in the summer where your parents drop you off and
Yeah.
you're crying, and whatever age it was, 12, 13, 14, you know, that you're really out there on your own. You know, you really took that leap of faith.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't really say exactly, but somewhere in age 13 to 15,
Mm-hmm.
that I would say that, you know, the light bulb moment that I started activating things
Yeah.
in my own life for me, rather than proving it for my parents, you know.
Yeah. And you used to have your own business, right? Couple of businesses.
I've had several businesses.
You had several
yeah.
businesses.
I'm on my fifth now.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought it was like just the two
Yep. This is
concrete wave.
this is my longest business that
Okay.
I've had.
Yeah.
Concrete wave. You want to
We can talk
hear a little
about.
backstory?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
you say you, but wait a minute, let me
yeah,
stop.
yeah,
You
go
say you
ahead.
have 5 businesses. So
I'm on my fifth now.
you're in your 5th business.
yeah,
Okay, so this was the longest one you had?
yeah.
Were they different kind of businesses or?
4 of them were interwoven.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
collaborations off other businesses that organically just grow.
Okay.
You know.
So you're kind of a natural entrepreneur, would you say?
Yeah, and obviously, it's both my parents. Both my parents had business in their blood, so it's
Yeah.
natural.
Yeah, okay.
My own father was a photographer that did photography on the side, even though he was an electrical engineer. My mother sold toys and Tupperware
Yeah.
parties like they used to do
Oh,
in
yeah.
the homes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and she would ask me and my brothers to come along.
Yeah.
So I learned at a young age what she was doing,
Okay.
seeing money get exchanged. Started getting an idea about that stuff.
Yeah.
And in high school, not even high school, in grade school, I would walk by 2 convenience stores
Mm-hmm.
that I started buying candy and reselling it to kids in school.
Is that right?
Because we didn't have vending machines at that time.
Yeah.
So I started learning how to make a buck.
Like right when you were that young, you go get
Yeah.
some candy and
Yeah, young.
make a profit in
10,
life.
11, 12. I would walk by every day, 2 going home and 2 going to school, and I would start taking orders. So my whole little story of all my businesses, really the idea started coming from seeing my mom do something, me
Yeah.
replicate it and selling candy,
Yeah.
you know.
Is that where you feel most comfortable in that role?
Sales,
Yeah.
I like it all, honestly. Marketing,
Marketing? Huh.
sales, because you got to sell something, but you got to have a great idea and a market to get it to life, you know.
Right, right.
So I like seeing it all woven together, not just making a buck, you know. I think it's fun seeing things, you know. You get a great idea, but I like seeing how it's executed, you know.
Yeah. So
Out
the
of-
concrete wave.
Yeah.
That was what was that all about? How did that start and how did it go? And then
All right. So, you know, I've been, which I share with you.
there's a wave. I told him to put a wave on the back.
Oh, cool. So I've had wonderful 28 years of Concrete Wave, which I just ended it this past year.
28 years.
28
That's pretty
years. I'm not 28 years old. Obviously, you can tell that. But my story goes as selling the candy 13 to 15 about, I started developing my passion for skateboarding. And I started writing companies to get catalogs, and they started sending the wholesale pricing with it. And then I started seeing how much stuff costed. And it started giving me an idea in my head. At that time, looking back now, it's definitely a business plan.
Yeah.
I started developing like how much stuff, you know, costs versus a resale, how much markup, stuff like that.
Yeah.
By about 17, we started ordering a little bit. I could get a little bit of the wholesale value. A lot of vendors wouldn't allow that. But I started selling some stuff to friends about 17, making a little bit. I don't want to rip my friends off, so just
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
And then once I applied to college, which I went to Eastern Nazarene College, I actually delayed it 1 year. I wanted to work for a retailer for 1 year. I got a job. It was the biggest Levi's dealership in Massachusetts. So I learned inventory, sales, marketing, all within that 1 year of delay that I delayed at college out. I
So
really,
you did that with that purpose, work for them with
yeah,
to learning those areas of
yeah, I
the
wanted to
business.
learn skill. I really learned how people stole. I had a great assistant manager that kind of allowed me to
How
get it
people what you say?
stealing.
Oh,
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of how people stole stuff, but
oh, okay.
um, employee theft by taking trash out at night and throwing jeans in there and dumping in a dumpster and then coming back in the middle of the night and taking them out.
Oh,
Or their own customers, how they'd wear two pairs of jeans. They'd wear one underneath one to get out the door.
oh, that's giving me some ideas, man.
It's crazy, but I never thought of that.
Yeah.
So, it was a good life lesson for me to kind of learn the stuff, I
Hmm.
guess, before I had my own store.
Yeah.
And then I went to college, but getting into school, I started ordering more wholesale stuff.
Yeah.
I figured that's my best audience. You have college kids, and I'm in Boston. I can sell it like
So
crazy.
like roller, you were buying
Skateboards.
Skateboards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got quite a bit
You
down
got
here,
some in
but
there.
yeah, so the good old
Look
skateboards.
at that.
Just a piece of wood with wheels on it. Which
Yeah.
The idea came from roller skates,
Yeah.
People took the roller skates off and put them on a skateboard.
Hmm.
By Christmas time, I actually asked my parents for a pretty bold move. I had a vision, an idea that I wanted to open up a retail store, not just peddling stuff as I was.
Yeah.
So I asked them for 1 year college money. Both of them, I think, because they had business in the background
Hmm.
and they saw the drive and passion that I had. I had paper routes and all this other stuff leading up to that. They cut a check for me for $10,000, which is what school was at that time.
Hmm.
And the skin in the game was if I failed at that $10,000 investment from them, I would
Yeah.
have to go back to school and pay all the school myself.
Oh.
So they were going to fund first year and second year of school. They funded first. The second year, instead of loaning, they invested in the business the second year.
Oh.
And if it went sour, I was going to pay to go to school.
Yeah.
So I had to prove them wrong,
Yeah.
you know? And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. The 28
28
years.
years of businesses.
That's a good run, no?
Excellent run.
Yeah. So now, do you miss it a little bit, or no? It's like
Yeah, it's
you're into
bittersweet.
New. Yeah.
The past 7 years, how Amazon's crazy gone to life over everything.
Yeah.
It makes it harder and harder for mom and pop, small independent stores to make a buck,
Yeah.
to stay alive. You got to have a unique item, which your wife has her business, that you can craft your uniqueness and control where it goes.
Yeah.
But in a world of mass production, which skateboards is,
Mm-hmm.
in the earlier days that I was in business before the internet, it was crazy.
Yeah.
My business exploded in the 1990s. I started in 1990. It boomed to 2000, blew
Yeah.
up. I had over a dozen stores all the way from Boston into New Hampshire.
Really?
I had them all
Wow.
over the place.
I didn't know that.
At age 19, I opened one. By 20, I opened up another one. By 21, I opened up a skateboard park. Every year, it kept growing organically. I had to scale it. I started taking my own customers, which are my friends, and getting them involved in the business.
Mm-hmm.
And it exploded. But again, no internet. It
Yeah.
was all word of mouth and marketing, and we had sponsored kids that were marketing and wearing my shirts and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was a great time to see the explosion happen. But, everything is an S-curve. After 2000, S-curve started coming down
Yeah.
on what to do next, It wasn't, the internet was out there, but it wasn't really what was happening. There was
Yeah.
more competition. At that time, there was only me and one other guy in a radius of probably 40 miles.
Mm-hmm.
But 10 years into the run, we had skate shops probably every 20 minutes away. And not alone that, then we have Sports Authority, Ski
Yeah.
Market, REI, all these other stores starting to sell the snowboard stuff too.
So,
So-
it was time then.
Yeah, it was a time, again, a light bulb moment of having a vision, and I'm a forward thinker of what to do next, you
Yeah.
know? And I've already had one skateboard park. So when the snow happens in New England, you're not selling much skateboards. So I developed a skateboard park inside a warehouse, built the ramps and all so kids could ride inside.
Mm-hmm.
And we would charge them money, which would cover our rent and everything else. But it was another business. So that's another business. So I created.
Oh, okay. That's what you were telling me about how
Yeah.
they grew out of.
So
Okay.
the shop was one, and then I
Mhm.
created an idea to have a skateboard park. And even though, one park I had in Bellingham that lasted for a long time, I had a good run at that, almost 9 years.
Hmm.
I took on a bad business partner, and he ran it into the grave.
Hmm.
And I walked from that, and I had another vision to do another one. It just I stepped back for about 5 or 6 years before I decided to do another one.
Yeah.
And then we did another one, and I took on another partner, which is an employee of mine for like 10 years, and we opened one in Shrewsbury. So skateboard parks, skateboard shops, people started seeing what I built. You have three-dimensional ramps. They curve.
Mhm.
You can make them like swimming pools. It turned into another business. There's another light bulb business. People started asking me to build ramps for them in their barns, their garages, their backyards.
Oh.
And eventually I started building them for towns and private other new indoor skateboard parks. So other parks far enough away from me that it wouldn't be a competition,
Mm-hmm.
that I started taking on some serious jobs. And it was, again, where my S-curve of concrete waves started to dip down. It
Yeah.
allowed me time to take away from that and step out and start doing some other stuff, which I enjoyed. I like working with wood and building this stuff, and it's fun.
Hmm.
And again, I wouldn't do anything if it doesn't all point back to concrete wave, because it does. It reflects it all. Who built this stuff? Oh, it's Brian. Brian from where? Concrete wave. So it all, that's why all those businesses kind of organically got created. In the beginning, I didn't think of doing all that.
Yeah.
It just morphed to that.
So what's are they still open, some of these parks, or
Yeah,
still running?
one of the last parks that I built is still open in Taunton.
Okay.
Over 10 years. He's the biggest skateboard park in New England.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't do them anymore. For me, really, I like the concept of it.
Mm-hmm.
The profit versus the liability
Mm.
is not that great. In the beginning, when I had nothing, no houses, no real estate, no
Oh,
nothing,
okay. Yeah.
I didn't care. It was one of those things, if I get sued, I get sued.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a family,
Yeah.
I have real estate. So as I started getting more net worth, my attorney was just like, it's not worth the value of it. So even though you like it, the idea of it, it's not worth it.
Hmm.
Because you can have insurance, and we had Lloyd's of London, which was the best insurance policy, but still,
Yeah.
somebody sues at McDonald's for a hot coffee and still wins money.
Yeah.
Some kid can get seriously crippled on a skateboard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not going to be, hanging on to something that I really like and cherish just to have that happen,
Yeah.
So,
So what's rolling around in your head now for the future? And entrepreneurial ideas. You have any in there, or?
yeah, always. I think as a born entrepreneur,
Yeah, you started very young.
yeah, I think you got stuff moving in your head,
Mm-hmm.
keeps you up at night. I always ask when I go for job interviews, what wakes you up at the middle of the night about your job, what you do,
Mm-hmm.
what's your passions, what you like to do, like, write it on a paper, what keeps you going. So for me, in this past 2 years leading up to me closing a store, which I just closed it this year,
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to do more real estate. I was always diverse on not just a job making money. In the Bible, it talks about multiplication so much times.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to just take your 10 talents and bury it in the ground like the one stupidity guy did, and
Yeah.
then let it just sit there and not earn money.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned at a very young age, watching my parents model, but them also bringing me to their investor very young when I started my business to get me on a roadmap of investing money.
Mm.
So I made net worth in the store, also investing into investments that I wouldn't touch,
Yeah.
and also buying real estate, which I did very early on.
Mm-hmm.
So leading up to the last 2 years of Concrete Wave, I knew the piece of real estate I had in Worcester, eventually somebody would come knocking and want the piece of real estate.
Yeah.
And I said, everything has a price tag. If somebody wants it out, and I'm watching my business model still keep sloping down, and if it's timing, I'll just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
So I had two aha moments. That one, I flooded my boiler in.
You what?
I flooded my boiler
Oh, okay.
in the business property, which soaked the carpets of water and all,
Yeah.
and it caused me to shut my business down for one day.
Yeah.
And I was so mad. I was losing business for one day. I couldn't have it open because it was all wet.
Yeah.
But God actually spoke to me to say, I think there's something different for you. And
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what it was. It was just like, this is, something's going to change. A dream about 6 months later, the same thing happened, middle of the night. Just had a dream about it.
Hmm.
The piece of property in Worcester started becoming an interest. People started interested in making phone calls and stuff on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, leading up to it, I had multiple people showing interest in it. I started personally chasing an idea of maybe buying another piece of commercial real estate and moving Concrete Wave to it.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, me and my wife started having an idea of doing an Airbnb type of business, because that's really what a lot of millennials rent these days. They
Yeah.
want the concept of not going to a hotel. They want a cool space to go rent.
Yeah.
And we had the idea of doing it, and I didn't realize, that was God kind of twisting my arm to say, maybe this is it. So I really, activated my faith in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and I publicly announced on social media that Concrete Wave was going to close.
Mm.
I had about a year leading up to it that the process was going to go, but this was 1 year ago now that I announced in public media that social media was going to close my store.
Yeah.
People were shocked.
Mm.
Anytime that changes are going to happen, you're going to have critics. And you're going to have critics in a negative and a positive. And that's
Yeah.
when you have to have your right sounding board of the right people around you that trust you
Mm-hmm.
and have an outside vision to kind of see what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And that's really what I did. I entrusted not people of my own age, some elder people too, to really ask, is this a wise thing to do?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a Brian move, or it's not, something I'm going to regret. So
Yeah.
I let outside a sounding board of small, mostly businessmen, look into it
Mm-hmm.
and give me pretty much a green light to say, yeah, this is something worthwhile. So I started studying that Airbnb model more and more,
Mm-hmm.
and not just, anything I jump into, I just don't jump into it like that. I study it.
Yeah.
And I saw that there's some serious profit and growth into that.
Mm-hmm.
And where I saw Concrete Wave still sloping down each year, I didn't want to hang on to that and go out with nothing. And I started closing down my vendors that I was dealing with and paying my bank note off, that
Yeah.
I wouldn't have any debt over my head. And I was able to actually close the business down and take a significant investment out of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's one piece of the puzzle. Now I have the real estate.
Yeah.
A medical marijuana company was building right up to me. This is the stuff that I really didn't see what was happening
Yeah.
until the last year into it.
Mm-hmm.
And those people have endless dollars.
Yeah.
So I was able to cash out on my piece of real estate in Worcester, and I made triple what I bought it for.
Well, that's great.
And that investment there launched us into an Airbnb business
Excellent.
5 months ago.
So you're a born entrepreneur.
That's my 5th business. Yes.
We are running out of time.
Okay.
So you have a lot of stuff in there that regarding business and regarding making decisions and regarding growth, and I'm sure other things. So I want you to think about that for a second and picture somebody out there waiting for you to tell them something as your last or your something you want to leave them with before the show is over, that you think will be the best thing that you could say to them, whether it's regarding business decisions or
Sure.
whether it's regarding life or
Yeah.
anything. And this is your opportunity to tell them that.
I would say going back on my younger 20s or even teenage years, because this is really the ideas that I started having in my head. Whatever that you have in your vision, in your head, you can talk it out of yourself very easily, just with the negative thoughts that you're personally, speaking. If you speak life and positive things out of your own life and out of your own mouth, to let it come to life, I think that's the biggest thing. Because you're going to have critics no matter what on the outside, but on the inside, your own critics, your own thoughts will beat you down. And you're always going to, for me or for anybody else that's going to get in business, change your health, go to the gym, it's tough. You're not going to get that body that quick. You're not going to change that diet that quick. But your biggest critic's your own self. So you got to get those thoughts out of your head and have the right couple people around you to lift you up.
Okay. That's great. Thanks a lot, Brian.
Hey, you're welcome.
Time just flew by, brother. Yeah, I didn't know you had that much in there, and you still got a lot more.
We do.
Appreciate it, brother.
Hey,
Thank you
you're
very
welcome.
much. And thanks for watching, everyone out there, and we'll see you next time when the next person comes and shares their story.